We're coming together and we're gonna go over the results. Actually, we actually did that. We went over the results from the last meeting. So now we're basically coming together and trying to figure out different techniques for implementing, let's see what time it is, sorry about that. Different techniques for implementing the group projects. So as you guys have your agenda in front of you, let's go over that real quick. There's a few items that I want to make sure that we will touch upon. As I said before, we have to go over the results. Well, we went over the results, but we're going over the previous meeting, the previous minutes from the meeting, from the last meeting. And then we're going to go over the percentage of students who actually wanted more group collaborations broken down by grade. So we'll be going over that for the 6th, 7th, and the 8th graders. And then next, we're going to discuss the correlation between the lectured classes and the high ditching rates versus the group classes, the classes that have more group projects, and the lower ditching rates. And then last but not least, we will be coming out with techniques for more group assignments for our English classes, math, history, and science. Any classes before, any questions before we start? No. Okay, so does everybody have a copy of the results of the student survey that we went over last time? Good. So basically, as we discussed the last time, doesn't come as a surprise because we've gone over this quite a few times, but we do have a high ditch rate at our school, from 6th all the way to 8th. And we noticed that the majority of our students in general are ditching during 5th and 6th period. That is the class that's most often ditched. But the other thing we discovered is the classes that the students have for math, English, and history, those have the highest ditch numbers versus the science classes or the elective classes and PE. So the one thing that we did before, we looked into those classes and we figured out how is teaching being done in those classes, and we discovered during the last meeting that the math classes do have, the math and English classes and history do have a high level of lecturing going on in those classes, whereas the science classes have more collaborative group projects that's being done. So the other thing that we noticed is during a week, on average, your 6th graders are ditching about twice a week, and our 7th graders are about 4 times a week, and our 8th graders are 7 times a week. In your classes, because I know both of you guys are English teachers, and English unfortunately does have a high level of ditching going on across the grade level. Have you noticed any difference between when you're lecturing versus when you're doing group work, how your attendance has been going so far?
Yeah, I have noticed a difference, because they do know when we're going to do group work because, you know, that's usually project related, and we will have a higher attendance rate. You know, they get to socialize a little bit more. It feels more fun, I think, for them to learn that way.
Okay.
So yeah, I've noticed a difference than on the regular days when I'm lecturing.
So you're noticing better attendance on the group project days.
Yes.
And what about
The
your
same
class?
thing, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, very much the same thing.
So it goes along with what we're
Exactly.
noticing
Yeah.
with, okay, so higher. Okay. And on average, just curious, on average, I would say a week, how often are you guys doing group assignments?
You know, maybe like once,
Okay.
because with the essays, I feel like I need to give them a lot of guidance
Okay.
on how to write, and so I'm having trouble, you know, doing more group work with my
Okay.
assignments.
I have the same thing. It's
Okay.
really hard to fit it in, but I do try to fit it as much as I can, because I know they enjoy it more.
And see, this goes along with our results because you're both English and there is less group work going on in this department. So, and we do have high levels of ditching across the board, grade level wise. So, if you look at number 6 down there, when we went over the results the last time, the one thing we found from the students, and they were very honest with their results, which I'm so glad they were, and it was anonymous, so we don't know, you know, the names of the kids, but they basically said, you know, 73% of them prefer group assignments, and 16% prefer individual assignments, individual working assignments, and 11% actually prefer lectures. So
It's pretty clear.
Yeah,
And
Yeah.
changing of the times, you know, they're not used to sitting and listening as much.
mm-hmm,
Social media and technology, like to do stuff.
mm-hmm. So it seems like the students have spoken, so now we have to listen and restructure our curriculum to meet our students' needs. So this is gonna have to go across the curriculum. As I discussed with the principal, he already knows that we've been having these meetings, and when all of this is done, we're gonna present this to him, and I'll talk about that more at the end, but we basically, it sounds like we need to restructure how we're delivering our instruction to our students to meet their needs, because we need them to be physically in the class to get the instructions. And that's the correlation between their grades and their graduation rate. So let's see, the next part I wanted to go over was discussing techniques for more group assignments for the English, math, history, and science department. So basically, thank you. So basically, we have to come up with some techniques. But before we come up with some techniques, because we're basically talking about English, math, and history. So those are the three departments that we're gonna really have to try to convince. So, do you think, do you see us having any challenges, or?
Coming up with ideas or just
When trying to
convincing them?
convince, is there any department you guys see us having any difficulty with trying to come on board?
Any other department? I don't think
so.
so,
Not
especially with
nowadays.
science and history.
Yeah.
There's a lot of opportunity for them
Okay.
to do group work because
Okay.
project-based and things like that, so.
I'm a little concerned with math.
Math is, I
Math.
think is really good because I think if they get into groups, they can help each other. I think that's actually helps. I think that's one of the classes that actually needs to be into groups. Because
Okay.
it's hard to reach all the students,
True.
especially with the math concepts. There may be some students that catch on really fast and some that don't, and they get into groups and you can have to train them ahead of time how to help and make sure that they're open to doing that. But I think it does help kids.
I agree with you that the students will actually benefit with that,
Mhm.
but what my concern was the teachers, because, you know, how the math department is here, they've been here the longest. It's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
oldest department, and they've been lecturing for so many years. Do you anticipate any hesitation, any resistance from them to change?
Well, it's always hard to change
Yeah.
teachers' ways, but
Yeah.
There's always gonna be resistance. I mean, there always is resistance in some ways,
True.
no matter
Sure.
what we implement, I think.
But if you can present some data to them, then they'll see that it is probably a necessity. Just like you said, the times are changing
Uh-huh.
and kids have a hard time just to sitting and focusing on a
Sure.
lecture. So we have to kind of go with the times and maybe we can present it that way, or it can be presented that way.
Okay, that's an
They're
idea.
all reasonable, but like you said, that it is kinda hard to change your ways, but I think
But
they're all
actually,
reasonable.
things are always changing in the schools too. There's always new teachers coming on board and
True.
then you can always start with that too. if they-
And maybe with the professional development, maybe?
Yeah.
If we can show them the different techniques that they can actually use to
Mhm.
implement. So, which actually leads us to the next segment,
Okay.
because we want to make sure we stay on course, because I know we have other meetings to go to. So, what are some techniques that we can come up with to implement for the English, the math, and the English, math, history, and science? What different techniques? For techniques to encourage group work for.
Oh, maybe like at a professional development meeting, if we did a meeting, rather than at the meeting saying you guys need to do group work, we do a meeting where there's group work involved and they see how much more taken there is by the participants, you know.
So having the actual staff.
At the staff meeting, we should do,
Participate.
yeah, we should
I
do
like
something
that.
where the teachers are partaking in a group.
I like that. So they can see how easy it is for them
Yeah.
to work together and
And-
implement that in there.
And how hard it is to like zone out because you're
True.
being accountable by
Exactly.
somebody else.
True. I like that. I like that. Any other suggestions or techniques?
Maybe you have a student come in and talk about their experiences, you know, about lecture
Or maybe even a
versus-
demonstration on how kids can work together and maybe have a group come in and actually show how each participates in a certain role as far as the group. You know, one is a leader, one is, you know, a helper and so forth, and you have to, they can show how it really works well together.
I like that. I like that a lot. That's good. So for the professional development, for us to basically have the staff members work together, which can show them how they can implement it in their classes, and then have a student come in and give their experience.
Or a student come in and also maybe a group and actually show it in action, how
Yeah.
it could work.
Ah,
Yeah.
I
Just a
think-
short.
Yeah,
release.
I think a lot of people tend to write things off, but if they see it in action, they'll be more likely to be like, okay, this is doable, I can do this.
now when we're talking about group works and projects, like how big do you think we should have the students, like how big of a group do you think we should maybe have them with?
No more than 4.
Yeah, I agree.
Definitely no more than 4.
I was kind of thinking more on that level
Yeah.
too. Someone
Definitely no more than 4.
3 to 4.
3 to 4, yeah.
Okay. And should we have like everybody have like a role?
Yes.
Definitely.
That's what-
Okay.
need to have a role, otherwise one person's gonna take the lead
Sure.
and then others get left behind.
Okay, so like assign roles for everyone. Okay. All right, so, okay. And this brings me back to the other question I had before, but with the math department. Should we have the same kind of group expectations for them? Because I know they might present a little bit of a challenge, or should we tweak it a little bit when we, I'm wondering if for that math department, maybe we should focus on the students giving their side and going over, just like you said, the data, explaining to them why the students are actually ditching. It's not as enjoyable, it's less opportunity for group work, so maybe if they can see the kids come in and explain that and show them, just like you said, in action, how it
It would
looks.
make it more real, make it more.
Okay,